one of my favourite books as a teenager was 1984. That could be a bit sad. Written in 1948, published in 1949 by George Orwell. It's a look forward to a dystopian future where Big Brother is watching you everywhere. And it's very much, we're kind of here today, that after the technology revolution of the 90s and the mobile phone revolution of the noughties, governments have caught up and are beginning to link up all the information sources so that they know where you are and when you are. We see that with residency permit applications, they're able to recall the data from people crossing borders at airports where you're doing facial recognition and fingerprint scans and retina scans. And in addition to that, coming forward, we've got the electronic travel authorities, which will give an additional record of who is where and when in which country. And all this is creating more of a big brother environment going forward. Big government, big control government. But in 2024, we're also looking forward to revolution. And what do I mean by that? If you're an expat living and working abroad, you don't want to be caught up in strife and trouble, like some people unfortunately were in Ukraine a couple of years ago. Political instability is always there, change is always there, and there's conflicts that can arise and come up around the world. And therefore you need to be flexible and prepare the way you're going. But when we look at Europe in specifically, we see that it's the traditional way of the last 50 years. Is that going to continue? Is that going to continue with the major elections? So there's EU parliamentary elections this year. Will they vote for the status quo, or will we see a repeat of the right-wing governments that have been elected in Hungary and Italy and Netherlands, bringing a dramatic change to the dynamic there? This, dramatic populist right-wing free economy president elected in Argentina as well. No struggle, no strife, but a different way and a different view and a different approach, which could actually mean lower costs of living, or it could economically impact the ability to work. Is it pro-government? Is it free thinking? Is it able to live and work abroad and move around? These things can change for the better and for the worse. So you've got EU elections, you've got a UK general election coming up now, and an American presidential election on the 5th of November. Already Trump is holding sway, and if he doesn't end up in prison, or if one of the 270-something leading candidates for the presidency, don't die during this year's campaign, then we could have quite a radically different president in Trump, or more of the same in Joe Biden, who was the vice president under the previous Democratic president in the United States. What will that mean? Will the change culture that's in America come to the fore, and will it come to the fore through Donald Trump or through somebody else? What about change in the UK? Change in the UK is a bit more difficult. Is that possible? Is it possible to get the change with the establishment of the two-party system that we've got? In theory, the UK voted for radical change in 2019, and that's not been carried through. Is that the individuals, or is it the establishment? And this is what we need to see is going to happen. So when you're living and working abroad, you need to consider the geopolitical situation of where you're going to go. You can accept those risks and get paid accordingly from your contractors and from your employers, but it can also determine whether you have a permanent residence there in terms of owning property and business, or whether you have a more flexible arrangement to allow you to be there on short stays or short working permits. The balance between working and residency permits and relocating and permanent homes can be quite distinct. The life of an expat is transition. During that transition, it could be a short stay, 2, 3, 4 year period of working and living and working abroad, or it could be the start of a chapter of a long-term establishment after 5 years to get permanent residency and then citizenship in your new country. Unfortunately, if you're British and you're living and working abroad, you haven't got the option of going back to UK with the flexibility that you may like. As HMRC put it quite succinctly, you can't choose your tax resident. You're either tax resident in one country or another, and so the country of your citizenship is your tax residence, unless you're legally resident and tax resident in another country with a double taxation treaty between your country of residence and your home country. These are the issues that we cover. We offer free reviews and a retained client service to give you advice through the years. So for more advice and guidance, tax return, tax reports or tax consultations with expat experts, contact us at preparedness.com.